Welcome to the stream, guys. We're kind of starting cold today. Kyle's got a tornado warning, so we may watch him die at any time. So I wanted to get the stream going so we can see that if it happens, because the content above all else is what we care about. So Kyle's going to try not to die during the stream. He may have to bail out here last second. We do have Raiksey. Is that how you pronounce it, Raiksey?
Yeah, it's Raiksey, or you can just call me Tom, man.
Tom, okay, sure thing. Okay, so Kyle is, I think, on the phone with his girlfriend as they try to figure out what shelter they're trying to go to.
Oh my god!
He normally
is it that serious?
Yeah, it's like he's looking outside. He's like, man, I've never seen the rain coming down so hard before, and there's like an active tornado warning, and like apparently it's doom and gloom out there. So he's got all eyes on the window. He's going to try to join us. He may have already gone to the basement. I don't know. So if you see him disappear suddenly, it's because his apartment got torn down by a tornado. But maybe I'll do the intro for the BS podcast. So welcome to the BS podcast, guys. Happy Saturday. Good to have everybody on board. Kyle is trying not to die today in a tornado, so he may be hit or miss today. Hopefully we'll hear from him. But he's going to be around. Well, we'll see how it goes. He's on mute right now as he's probably huddled up in a basement trying to protect himself. But I do have Raiksey on today. Glad to have you. Huge YouTuber, huge streamer. He's got his own podcast, which I believe is called the OSRS podcast, which honestly for me is depressing because I used to think I was like within the top 3 of RuneScape podcasts, and now I'm finding more and more podcasts. So I'm slowly bubbling my way down toward the bottom. So maybe I should just be like the worst podcast in RuneScape. Just own it. Just go with that. That'll be my moniker. Good to have you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, man. What an introduction. Holy. I've never been spoken about in such high regard. Thank you. Well, dude, no, Mate, I know exactly what you mean, by the way. I see so many podcasts just like popping up here and there everywhere. Like, it seems like it's the time for RuneScape podcasts right now.
Apparently, yeah. So I knew Jimmy had a podcast. I've seen a few other ones. You have a good one with it's Rice Cup, and who are the other guys on your podcast? I give it a proper plug.
So yeah, it's Rice Cup and Mint Mad Cow. And we went with the genius name of the Old School RuneScape podcast.
It works. I mean, if it works, we're calling ours the Boomerscape podcast because it's me and Kyle. We're both basically boomers in the RuneScape world. It also abbreviates down to the BS podcast, which sounds a lot more catchy to have a BS podcast. But then we realized we're stealing the same name from Jimmy because they're the bank standing podcast, so they also have a BS podcast. So. well,
dude, that's genius marketing, man. People are gonna accidentally find yours now, happy days.
Maybe we're thinking ahead. They'll type in BS podcast thinking they're gonna get Jimmy's and then fall on ours and be forced to watch it. So maybe that'll work out for us. So I'm logging out of the game here left and right. So you just got done with your own stream, didn't you?
How'd that go? I did. We it was fun. We did a Bandos mass and we all took DH. So I died many times. There were many sacrifices, but it was a fun time. What world are you in, by the way? I actually know this is your spot. I'm waiting here right now.
Sure, I'm in world 444 of. Ironically enough,
this is not a PvP world, is it?
I don't believe so. If it was, I'd be dead by now. So I don't think it is. I am so low ranked. I couldn't even dream to do some of those the type of streams that the big streamers do now with the
Dude,
like kind of theater blood and things like that.
I'm kind of starstruck right now. You know that. I've just right-clicked you in game. Like, you gotta understand, I genuinely watched your videos like back in the day when you popped off. So to actually see your name in game, I'm honored, bro. Oh my god, that's really starstruck me right there.
Oh, thank you, man. You don't have to be starstruck. As you'll find, I'm really not that interesting as we go on here. I was joking too that our podcast usually is I've got high energy for the first 10 minutes or so. Then I burn out. Then Kyle jumps in. He takes over and carries us for the rest of the podcast. So that's kind of how we work our show here. Then we talk over each other like all the time. So it's actually nice that there is a tornado happening right now because now I'm not me and Kyle aren't talking on top of each other as much as we normally would. So this may be working out for the better. By the time my energy's gone, Kyle will be back on. He'll be sitting in the rubble of his house doing the rest of the podcast, and he'll carry the rest of the show for me. So this might work out for us. We'll see. So my first question for you, man, is Raiksey or Raikseys. Again, I don't know how to pronounce that, but how did you come up with that name, man? Where does that come from?
So it's quite simple, really. So when I made this account back in, God, I think it was probably, it was pretty much when RuneScape 2 became RuneScape 2 from RuneScape Classic. I never played Classic.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite simple. It is a little bit of a dox on myself, but basically my last name's Raikes.
Okay.
So it's just minus the Y. And like growing up through school and stuff, my nickname was just always Raiksey. So when I made my account, it was just the obvious choice, really.
Oh, that works better than Excl or some of the other ones that we've come up with. So,
what does Excl stand for?
So I've told this in a couple of videos before, so some people may have heard the story. But so when I first joined the internet, like years and years ago, I was like, okay, I need a nickname. I don't want to go like with my own name because that would be stupid. No offense, man, but because I would just go with Jason. Like, Jason's gonna be, everyone's gonna have Jason. So, and my last name's like wouldn't be a good name anyway. So I was like, okay, let me look down. I'm looking around the room like, okay, wall would be a stupid name. Book, no, that'd be dumb. So I looked at my keyboard and there's like, I'm looking at the keys on the keyboard, like Q, W, no, okay, 1, okay, exclamation point. Okay, I'll go with exclamation. That sounds interesting enough. So I put exclamation as my name in like the first chat kind of group that I was doing. And then like almost immediately people didn't want to type out exclamation. So they just abbreviated it to Excl, because whenever they're typing to me, it's like, hey, Excl, how's it going? So after like a month or so, I just abbreviated it myself rather than typing that out every time I would log on. So I just stuck with that. And
yeah,
it had no E on it. It wasn't like Excl, like the or whatever, the Microsoft software. So yeah, it's short for exclamation, but you didn't know that, Trick? Yeah, exclamation point is my full formal name. So if you're like filling out a wedding invitation, it'd be an exclamation point. But yeah, I've whittled that down to Excl.
It's probably a smarter choice than choosing your last name, to be fair, because I do get the occasional friend request on Facebook. And I'm just like, I can tell at this point that it's somebody who's just stumbled upon my Facebook, like from my YouTube, and I'm like, oh no, yeah, but, nothing bad has happened. Well, touch wood. So yeah.
I've had that myself. I've had people add me on Facebook. I think it made it like more of an open challenge if you're not using your name, because now people are trying to actively figure out who you are. So I've had a couple of like requests on Facebook from people I have no idea who they are, or they'll say, "Hey, I'm like so and so from RuneScape." I'm like, I'm gonna keep that. This is my personal thing. I can't.
Yeah.
Can't be intermixing the two.
I totally get that. So I was curious, by the way, because I know that you used to be very prominent on YouTube, like back years and years ago. Like you were like one of the founders of the RuneScape YouTube genre, I would say. I mean, I think you messaged me, what was it, like a month ago?
Mm-hmm.
And did I comment on your what was it, like RuneScape drug video that you did?
Oh yeah. So I actually, this is how I found you, is because I was Aunt Venom had told me that you could actually like kind of look and see, like you could sort your comments by like the amount of subscribers people have. So I was like curious, like, oh man, I wonder how many like big names have actually come through my channel, because I've been around forever, like you're saying. And the funny thing was, like, there really wasn't that many big time guys. Like I even know, like, who's Sky the Kid or Sky Does Minecraft. He's got like 10 million subscribers, and even he didn't show up. Wow. I think most people actually like would watch YouTube videos on one account, and then when they started doing their own things, they would create like a app named like channel name for doing videos, and that's what they got big on. So most of the people that watched my videos, if they became big, they never actually did that on their account or commented with their big name account. They just did it with whatever they used beforehand.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but I mean that's the whole marketing thing nowadays, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, people go with catchy stuff instead of like what they would traditionally go with.
Well, that's the correct way of doing it, because they've learned from my mistake, because I created an account called WGD Vids because the name of the clan I was in RuneScape was Watchguard. I forget what it was. The Watchguard or something like that. And at one point I was like, how about we make videos to like promote ourselves? So I started doing the videos, and they got popular, and then everybody in the group and my clan that was doing the videos kind of fell off, except for maybe one or two people. And then I was stuck with the WG Vids name, because that's what I started with, and it didn't really match with what we were doing the videos about anymore. So I think at some point I even tried to switch to Excl Vids, but everyone was I couldn't get the people to switch over, so I just went back to WGD Vids. But everybody learned from that mistake now, and then went and created like the proper name for a channel and started building their YouTube accounts out of that. So they learned from me.
Yeah,
did it the right way.
I wish I did that as well, man. So like the only thing I was kind of lucky, because obviously, as you could probably tell, I've got quite a twangy accent. So I'm from the UK. And I'm from effectively what would be the equivalent, I guess, of like Texas, I guess, like the whole K-Kona meme and stuff. So, you know, my last name is literally Rakes. So the whole Raiksey thing. So for my branding, I've just put a piece of straw in my character's in his mouth, and he looks like a farmer. So I kind of bodged it together, to be honest.
Well, it seems like it's working out for you. I mean, you've got over 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is amazing. Like back in my day, that's unheard of. It was basically the Noob Show that did that, and maybe So Solid 2K at some point finally got that there. But you're doing quite well for yourself, so great job. I'm glad you were able to find your niche and
thank you, man,
and do what you've been able to do. So if you were to meet a new RuneScape, like somebody that plays RuneScape that doesn't know what you do kind of like on YouTube, how would you explain kind of your content or what you do?
So my content, more or less, I've never really played much Iron Man, which is what most people do nowadays. I've always stuck to like the traditional main accounts, but my content is mostly me progressing on a main account and just making money. I usually set kind of like money goals. Like one of the first successful big hits I had was making 100 mil in 24 hours. And then I just sort of progressed from there to making like $1 billion in 1 week. And then on this account that I'm actually on right now next to you, like I started this account as level 3 and pretty much documented like all of the progress and like everything as I went along pretty much. And I'm trying to make max cash on this account right now.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, it's like money time-based challenges for the most part. And that's probably about it. I don't say they're guides. People are more than welcome to try the moneymakers I do. I've never said that they were guides or anything like that, but obviously I see it more as like they can use it as like stepping stones if they wish to go down a similar path as me.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then
that's pretty much how I describe it. Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got the podcast as well. What's kind of your general theme for the podcast? It seems like you just riff and do whatever, talk about whatnot. You don't have any kind of theme for it.
So I'd say the podcast is still kind of like it's still in those early days at the moment. I'd say we're still trying to get like a full grasp and like, you know, a proper footing of what we're actually doing with it. But for the most part, we talk about basically everything old school RuneScape related. We often have old school RuneScape guests on and so forth, similar to yourself. And we just talk like that. That's basically what it is. It's just an open conversation. We might talk about, you know, an update that's coming into the game, or, you know, we might just have a guest on who's really interesting and we want to know more about that guest. And that's about it, really. I mean, it's been a difficult thing to get used to because obviously you and Kyle run this podcast. So there's 2 of you.
Yeah.
But when you have 3 people, it's kind of difficult to begin with to kind of get into that groove so it just runs smoothly. And I'd say we're just getting to that point now where I'd say I'd confidently say we've pretty much smashed that at this point. So now it's just a case of figuring out, do we want to limit ourselves to just old school RuneScape talk? Or, you know, do we want to talk about other things which we've dabbled in? We had a podcast where we just spoke about space for the entire thing. Probably one of my favorites, because God, you can just talk about that stuff for hours and hours. But no, I enjoy doing the podcast because it's just nice to be able to talk to fellow content creators. Like we're all I would say that we're all very like isolated, and just kind of like, you know, most RuneScape content creators just keep themselves to themselves. So it's really nice every week just to get together with your friends and just talk about RuneScape.
Yeah.
Like it's very refreshing, you know?
I agree. It's good to get new people on, and I'm actually really pleased with the guests we've been able to get to, because we get kind of all kind of like flavors. We've had a couple J mods on. We've had old guys that made videos 10 years ago. We have new guys like yourself. It's good to hear kind of the different points of view and what everybody's doing or what they did with RuneScape. So I agree. It's one of the highlights for my week is getting to talk to you guys and seeing what you're up to and what your thoughts are. But I got to go back, because you said like me and Kyle know what we're doing. We absolutely do not know what we're doing with this. We're really winging it every week. I haven't even figured out the webcam stuff yet. I really like to get it where you guys have, like all four of you are on webcam.
I came back at the right time.
me trashing our podcast. You alive, man?
Yeah, I just came back from tornado shelter. We're good.
God,
the storm was past.
You're not sitting in like a pile of rubble right now with like just your computer sitting on top.
Yeah,
of
I'm doing this stream from the basement, and there's like 10 other people huddled around me, and they're all seeking warmth. And there's me doing a podcast about RuneScape for 15 people.
All right, that's what I want to hear, Kyle. Good man.
The show must go on.
Yeah, so I was just saying.
No, it's.
Oh, this is the other thing too. You think we know what we're doing? We talk over each other all the time. We have no idea what we're doing. We're going cold.
Man, we do that. We do that all the time. Like, imagine if I co-hosted this with you. It's like three mouths trying to talk at once. It's a bit of a nightmare. We have to like talk to each other before our podcast and be like, okay, boys, we really need to stop talking over each other. And I've tried to make a habit. I've made the habit now. As soon as somebody starts to talk, I just stop. Like, I'm just like, unless I'm really on like a rampage of what I'm talking about. But like, the weird thing is that it's actually transpired to like my real life as well. And sometimes it makes for some awkward moments where I'll be talking with someone and then the conversation just dies. And then it goes again. But I don't know if that's because of the whole, you know, the lockdown and stuff like that, and we've all just become recluses. I don't know
how to do social skills. It's a new thing now.
Yeah, I've totally lost all of that stuff, man. The amount of times I've been at the shops and I've like made a conversation with somebody really weird because I've just completely forgotten how to like interact with people in real life. It's like, and I can see they feel weird about it. I'm just like,
I know. I'm there with you. Also, it's so nice to meet you. I'm so sorry I didn't have a chance to like formally introduce myself in the podcast. So, welcome. 20 minutes later. And
thank you. It's nice to meet you too, man.
Yeah, and I gotta say, it's I wish that we could have this podcast in person so that this wasn't an issue, because I'm 100% certain like the talking over each other issue is just because of the latency that Discord has.
Yeah. No, I get that. Yeah, no, it's fine. Yeah. It would be cool, but I mean, I'd have to come all the way to America. It'd be
we'd pay for you. I mean, once we make enough money, we'd fly everybody out, and it would just be come to our studio, man. We got our own setup. Sit back.
Well, when you make it, please do invite me back on.
Oh, okay,
that'd be amazing.
Yeah, if we get that far, we'll let you know. You'll be one of our first back.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking too about how you like as soon as you hear somebody start talking, you stop talking. I'm actually doing the opposite, because it's like I feel like the dynamic of our podcast is one of us has to talk. So if I start talking and Kyle jumps in because he's got that 3-second latency behind me and we can't figure it out, then I just like bull rush him to like get my point out through, and then he'll usually be quiet. So it seems like we're figuring it out, but it's still a big, huge work in progress.
Yeah,
that sounds about right.
I feel like it always will be. I mean, that's how it feels like for us. So I just think the more you do it, the better you get at like knowing when somebody's going to jump in at a certain topic or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's hard, man. Podcasting is hard because you don't want it to be a cluster the entire time, and you definitely don't want there to be like 5 seconds of silence.
Yeah, and that 5 seconds of silence is usually just the latency between me and Kyle. Is like I'll say something, he'll laugh, and then he'll jump in, and we're like, okay, you go, I go. It's brutal.
Yeah. Is my latency okay though? Am I laughing at the right times now, or is it still 3 seconds?
You're gonna have to like pre-laugh like a little bit before. Like if I start saying the joke, just kick in with the laughter, and then it'll cut in at the right time. So we should be okay.
Really gotta bring out my inner Minecraft YouTuber and start fake laughing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, or you're who's not Jimmy Kimmel? Who's the other guy? Jimmy Fallon. Just
Jimmy
fake
Fallon.
laugh. Yeah, gotta bring that out as much as possible.
Oh yeah.
So I was wondering, by the way, Kyle, do you do YouTube and stuff?
Yeah. I used to do RuneScape YouTube, and then that was like forever ago. That was like over 10 years ago. And then I more recently had pivoted to Minecraft stuff around like 2013, 14. And I feel like that's where I got the most like recognition on my videos. And then I just kind of stopped doing it. I lost interest like maybe 2015, 2016. It was getting to be kind of a chore, and Minecraft didn't really interest me as much, and RuneScape didn't interest me as much. So I was just like, well, time to find something else to do. And then about like 4 or 5 years later, old school is like a huge thing now. And like, I've been really interested in how the community has kind of become stronger than arguably ever before. I would say that the video making presence is probably at the largest that it's ever been, like ever. Like now that we've got like both old school RuneScape creators, and I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't know any RuneScape 3 creators.
Oh, neither do I.
We'll miss it. We had Will on. He does ours. Yep.
Oh my god, I did Will so dirty right there.
Hope he's not watching. Sorry, Will.
But it's very fascinating. So Jason and I had the idea to do this show, and we're like, how can we kind of get ourselves reacclimated like with the community, and like kind of figure out what we've been missing out on, because we're still RuneScapers at heart, even if we're not really actively playing it or making videos in it,
or like level 55.
It's always right, exactly. But we're always so interested to have like people on who were both active back in the day, and then have people on like yourself who are active currently, and might have come back into the game and are kind of RuneScape is their main game right now, where like we've kind of I don't know about you, Jason. Jason seems like he's getting back into it, but like I still can't bring myself to like sit down and play RuneScape.
It's the grind.
But I still love it. I'm still interested by it,
I love how you just couldn't help but laugh at that when you said that. Well, so what was your RuneScape channel back in the day? I wonder if I knew what it was. What was the name of it?
It's KK Comics.
He was the first one of the first winners of the Golden Gnome. He did the well, actually he was in the original Machinima contest that I won. He had the Oompa Loompas with Mark Gerhard, and then he actually won the Golden Gnome. I think the year after, when they had the actual contest, he was one of the winners for, I think the half, or what is it, live action Machinima, I think is what he won it for.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So I'm sorry, dude. I don't actually recall that YouTube channel, so apologies.
That's all right. That's okay.
If my memory serves correctly, so I was hugely into watching YouTube RuneScape back then. I see Excl, like I see you as one of the pioneers for what we currently have in this day and age. And so looking back at that time, if I'm not mistaken, that was around the time of content creators like Skychi, The Unforgiven, Lord Karmic, back when Gross Gore used to play RuneScape. It was around that time, wasn't it?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was curious, like Excl, you were like, how many subs do you have on your YouTube right now? Like you still have a lot, don't you?
Right now I've got 55,000 around then. I actually got up over 70,000 at one point, and then it's been trickling down ever since, which is kind of depressing because now I'm like making content again and the numbers are still going down because it's just old zombie accounts getting like filtered off by YouTube. Yeah. So I feel like, oh, I'm never going to get subs again, but it's just like the amount of people joining are matching the number of people like falling off. So it's a little bit depressing, but right now I'm at 55.
That's amazing. And I like, did you have 70,000 before you quit then? Like back in the
day? I think at the highest point I had 70,000. And then I think I went over to Minecraft and actually lost some people because they wanted the RuneScape content. They didn't want the Minecraft. So
hey, you had it when like 70,000 subscribers was like, that was like everybody in the platform.
Well, yeah, that
was like the hardest thing to
get. I think the top person on YouTube at the time was Fred or God, I can't even remember who it was. It was like one of those guys, like
Mosh, Fred.
It was either
the high pitched guy.
Yeah, the guy that got the movie that was like crazy.
Yeah,
he hit like 1 million subs around the time I had 70,000. So it was pretty much unheard of to have over 100K. There was only maybe 100 people that had 100,000, and I was like right around that spot. So, it was an interesting time. Now, of course, everybody makes money and a full on living off of it. And I kind of missed the boat there. And then the whole Twitch thing too. You have like, basically it's a chat channel where everybody just comes in and piles in with the comments. And I used to have that in my clan chat in RuneScape. So I missed the boat on that one too. I could have had the same thing there, but what do you got to do? I mean, it's, I'll live with it. I'm glad I inspired people to do much better things now and make a living of it, and they're happy. So that's good enough for me. I'm doing fine myself. So it's not like I'm destitute or living in a gutter, but I'll be fine.
Hey, that's good to hear. I was curious, like, were you friends with those content creators back in the day?
Yeah, well,
like some of the ones that I named.
It depends. So some of the older guys, like Skychi, Lucky Bucket. Oh yeah, shut up, Kyle. You know where I'm going with this.
I want him to organically poke the sore spot. Sorry, keep going though. I won't prod.
Okay, so yeah, you won't. So most of the super old guys, like the very first people that made videos, I don't know, and they kind of did their own thing too, which is really weird because there was a lot more community. Like right around when I started, people started getting together and like teaching each other like the video techniques. But like I was actually in the Unforgiving's clan chat, and then this is Kyle. You can see him cheering in the background. You can hear him silently like pumping his fist right now. But so I was in his clan chat, and I was started off like making the community, like he had like the real community where people would sit there and talk with each other. And I kind of grouped onto that and got people like following me that way. And then when he quit, I jumped over there. Everyone kind of came with me as well. And then we had that community, and then you get guys like Kyle and Seto Sorcerer and Max, I can't think, Mitsan, Ross, and like all kinds of people came out of that. Yeah, Gizzy came out of that. All kind of formed like within the group that we had formed with that. So that was really the beginning of the whole community aspect of it. The Noob Show, I think too, he was kind of big on grouping him and the Unforgiving. They're the ones that started the whole, what's that called? The RuneScape gathering stuff where people would meet up on Ice Mountain and meet the celebrities, and they kind of started that community. But that was really the beginning of the whole community aspect of it, was right around that 2009, 2008 time. Like the guys before that, like Skychi and some of those guys never really got involved in that. So I ended up not knowing them. But everybody else, like Dark Arm 3 and anybody that came up after me, I kind of know them, at least mostly. Some of the guys I don't. Like Nightmare RH came up around the same time. I actually didn't know him at all, and he ended up having a bigger channel than me. I think he was one of the guys that passed me. He's on, by the way, and he's on in 2 weeks. I'm super excited to get him on. But I never knew him because there was like our kind of community of video makers that would help each other out, and I'm thinking of more names like Chisel and Bum Bum and guys like those all kind of hung out in the same group. But then there's these other guys that would kind of do their own thing, like Nightmare, So Solitude Gay. And I didn't talk with them as much, but they kind of knew who I am, because when I talked to them, they're like, "Oh, hey, Excl, sure, yeah, I'll come on your show." So I think we were aware of each other. For the most part, the people around my time all knew each other, but all the older, like super old guard people were kind of on their own. Unfortunately, I'd love to get them on and talk to them, but it's difficult to track them down. What are we doing, by the way? You're our guest. We're supposed to be questioning you. I feel like I'm on. Are you recording this as your own podcast so you can put up on your channel?
No,
you're asking me all the questions. No. I feel like I'm talking way too much.
I'm used to hosting myself. So this is the first podcast I've been a guest on, so I'm kind of getting accustomed to it. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, by the way.
It's like having Jon Stewart on a talk show. He wants to run the talk show. He's
hijacking it.
Yeah, exactly. So how long ago did you start playing RuneScape? It sounds like you played years and years ago.
Yeah, so I think it was probably 2003. Like I said, it was just after Classic turned into RuneScape 2. The first time I logged into this game, and for a long time, it was back with like the old school icons, the Black Mage book, the super pixelated inventory. The spec bar was like a square, and like your DDS wouldn't go off instantly. It would be like one hit, then another. Yeah. So I've played for a really long time. Like, I mean, I effectively played the game and grew up watching content creators like yourself and watching Nightmare RH and watching, So Solid 2K. And the only period of time that I really stopped playing the game was around the time that pre-EOC went to RuneScape 3.
Yeah.
That was it. I took a break from the game, probably maybe 2 or 3 years off. And then when Old School RuneScape came out,
I'm back in.
Yeah, and here we are. And I'm still playing like every single day.
My goodness.
So I would say I've experienced quite a lot of like the in-game updates and the ups and downs of the game, and also all the waves of content creators. Like, when I speak about like the Unforgiven and Skychi and so forth, like I would love to see you guys interview those guys. Yeah, because I would love to know what they've been up to. I really would. I really looked up to them when I was younger.
Yeah, we would love to have them on. We can't. It seems like all the older guys, like everybody before me, is no longer on social media. They just don't exist anymore. Maybe this is they're too old for social media.
I've gone on a great scavenger hunt for Skychi. Yeah. He is impossible to find. And I, as far as I think we'll only talk to one of those people.
Yeah, I couldn't even get a hold of him if I wanted to, so I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. And then I'm trying to we had Dark Arm 3 on a couple months ago, so he's like the oldest guy we've had on that I can remember. He was the guy that really influenced me, so I was super stoked to have him on, get to talk to him. If you can think of anybody else too, let me know. If you got contacts with people, like they have a Twitter channel that's not completely decrepit, let me know. I'll reach out to them.
You could always take a shot at the absolute god of RuneScape, if you know who I mean.
Which one is that? There's a couple absolute gods, depending on who you ask.
His name begins with Z, and he is on Twitter.
Yeah, I've
yeah, Jason has him on speed dial, dude.
Are you trolling?
No,
I'm serious.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I've got him on Discord. I talk to him all the time, but he doesn't want to do like interviews, so he's kind of politely declined. So but
he hates us.
Kyle lets me have it every time. Like, yeah, you got him on.
He plays Among Us with Jason.
That's insane. We oh god, we wanted him so bad on our podcast channel, and we're talking about Zsema, and I was like, okay, boys. I was like, I'm gonna put a tweet out. We're gonna tweet him. We're gonna at him. I was like, if this tweet doesn't get 100 likes, like he's not even gonna give it the time of day. Yeah. And he, to be fair, he actually replied. I was stoked, even though it was it was a solid decline.
Yeah.
But humble dude actually replying to our request.
So was it?
I got nothing but good things to say about Zsema.
What exactly did he say? He's like, no way, or I'm curious.
No. It was something very politely worded. It was just something along the lines of, unfortunately, I can't do this. And I assume that's probably due to privacy, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But he's somebody who I think would just be so interesting to speak to, because it's like he is a RuneScape legend. You know, everybody knows who he is. If you don't know who Zsema is, like, how long have you been playing the game for? It's like like people know him from other games, people that have never played RuneScape before.
Yeah.
But I completely understand and respect. He probably wants to remain private, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I see that he plays League of Legends now, though, which is super.
He's big into Among Us too. I've actually played. I've streamed Among Us with him before, and we've joked about having like a RuneScape. Like super video makers or celebrity RuneScape Among Us game or something like that, but it's never really taken off. I don't know if he's playing so much now. I haven't seen him on it. He's mostly doing RS3 type stuff, but I figure at some point we'll get him on doing something. He just when I asked him, he's like, I don't think I should. It was kind of like maybe at some point, but I don't think so. I think it's mostly like he doesn't want to do one because then he'll get asked for like 100, which I totally get. I wouldn't want to.
Hey, I offered to pay him.
Yeah,
he said no.
Yeah, he's got $100 bounty out for Zsema right now. He's we're trying so hard to get him on.
Exactly what we were thinking the same thing. We were like, boys, how much can we pay him? How much can we put together in the pot to offer him?
That's sweeten the deal. Maybe the both of us should like get both streams together. We'll have like a 6-person booth podcast.
Oh no, I'm not doing a 6. I'm sorry, I'm not paying money to be in a 6-person podcast.
Yeah. So that's the one guy that I've at least got contact with. So Solid 2K actually reached out to him. He said yes at one point, and then he came back and said, "Nah, I probably shouldn't." I think he's got kind of history as a JMod, like he worked there a week or something like that. So I don't know that he wanted to do it. So he declined after saying yes, which I get. I'm trying to think of who else we've asked. Oh, the Noob Show. We've asked him, and same kind of thing is like he's kind of done with the YouTube scene for right now. So he's like kind of politely declined and said, not at this time. Maybe again, both him and Zez were like, maybe we can get him on later, but it just feels like we'll just pave our way without them. If we get them on, it's just frosting, but we tried.
Yeah.
But if you can think of any other old names like that, let us know. It's amazing how many people I've been able to get on. Like Poppy's like, I've got Paul Gower's contact information. I'm like, there's no way I'm gonna get Paul Gower on. He's like one of the founders of RuneScape. So I messaged him like, oh, okay, maybe you'll come on. You want to come on our show? Haha. And he's like, yeah, sure, man. I'll come on. What day works for you? I'm like, well, really? Wow. And then same thing with Nightmare RH. I was like, I found him on Twitter. I was like, oh man, I never talked to the guy when he did his thing. He just kind of was off on his own thing. I was like, he probably hates me. I'm just like, he did his streaming stuff. I did that stupid comedy stuff. I'm probably annoying for him. No way he'll say yes. Let me just try anyway. So I sent out a message. He's like, yeah, sure, man. When do you want to do it? So he's on, like I said, in 2 weeks.
This show is now Jason posting his W's.
Well, I just went through my L's too. I said Zsema L. Noob Show L. Okay. So Solid 2K L.
It's really interesting that you kind of perceive it as if like, oh, you must have hated me back then. I feel like the mentality for the old school content creating, like back when you did it, like I guess the way that you guys interacted with other YouTubers and streamers was completely different from now.
Yeah.
Because I do remember there being like beef back in the day, like Chris Archie versus Spark Mac and stuff like that.
Well,
but like nowadays,
that was like WWE beef.
Yeah.
That was
it's like me and Dark 3 type beef.
Oh, yeah. I remember that like it was yesterday. But like there isn't really any of that going on anymore. Like pretty much all of the content creators, I wouldn't say like banding together as such, but there's certainly like, you know, there's no talking crap on each other or anything like that. It's very much like we're all in this together. Like the more of us that are here, the better it is for the game and also for what we do.
Yeah, I think a lot of it too is back in the day, it was a lot more competitive, where people thought like if they're not watching me, if they're watching some other guy, they're not watching me. So there was a lot of kind of territorial things. I think it was people weren't used to the YouTube mentality where people will just watch you whenever. So if you and some other guy put out a video at the same time, it didn't matter. You weren't like you'd watch one and then the other. And I don't think that like it was still kind of the TV mentality where you gotta watch one or the other. So as soon as that kind of dissolved, people were a lot more willing to help each other out, where they discovered like if we're all doing well, then that's good for all of us. So then like and that I was there for that kind of switch around where people started helping each other out more. People were telling each other how to download Sony Vegas illegally. People were showing how to do like the right kind of like settings for your videos, and the kind of the quality of the videos took off after that. So it was kind of a good time to really be a part of that, where people learned like, okay, we don't have to be enemies. We could actually help each other out. And that's, I think, where the fake beef stuff came to, because it's like bad, what's it called? Bad publicity is still good publicity. So
Yeah.
Maybe you and I should start a row on Twitter and get ourselves some. I could have a meltdown. Yeah, I could have a meltdown, and then we could just go at each other, get some publicity. We'll get some views toward the podcast.
Yeah, I feel like it's changed a fair bit now. It's like only a few weeks ago, I was curious how to increase my audio quality, which I unfortunately haven't had the time to get around to. But I just asked some content creators, like, hey, any of you guys got any recommendations? I have this mic. I paid a fair bit for it, and I don't feel like I'm getting the most out of it. And just like a swarm of helpful people came forward and were just like, hey, have you tried downloading this? Have you tried this or that? And it's like, it's not a gated community. It's like everybody's happy to help each other. I feel like it's that saying, God, what is that saying? It's something like what is it, dude? Like it's like all rising tides lift.
Rising tide. Rising tide.
Rising tide.
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true. Like I've never looked at it in a way of like, I like healthy competition. So if somebody's close to like, say like my sub count or something, having somebody close to that, I like that because I can be like, okay, this is, I see it in my head. I'm like, this is my competition, but it's all love. There's no hate. It's kind of like very like self-manifested.
Yeah.
And I have like nothing against the person at all. It's just a healthy bit of competition. And it just keeps me sort of driving.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I'm doing the same thing with the podcast now. So right now we're like the 4th best podcast behind a couple others. So, and as soon as I discover more, well, I'm sure we'll drop down the order. But at least I've got a pecking order to aspire to, and we still got the moniker of like the worst podcast on RuneScape. So we can always roll with that. As far as like what your videos, how have you grown? Like, what were your first videos like when you started getting into the video making stuff?
God. So
is this painful memories being dredged up here?
It's an interesting thing because I was actually making videos like back in the day, like when you were making videos. Like I started making videos because of yourself and other content creators. Same kind of thing. I was starting off with God, what was that really old editing software? It was like Windows something.
Windows Movie Maker?
Or Microsoft. That's the one. So started with that. I made videos for years, but they never, I never had any views or anything like that.
So which RuneScape music videos did you do?
Oh, well, that's an interesting thing. See, so
it's pretty much what everybody started.
I've actually got a horrendous story about that.
Oh,
so
gosh,
I tried to make one. Okay, I did way back in the day, and it was like some super edgy, probably like Bullet for My Valentine kind of song or something like that. And I was so embarrassed of doing it. And I remember there was one clip I tried to get where I literally turned my private chat off. So I couldn't see the reply from the person that was next to me because the scene was taking place in a duel, in the duel arena. So I was fighting this guy and typing out these lyrics so only I could see them. And then I realized if you have your private chat off, they don't pop up above your head. So I wasn't getting any footage. And I was like, oh my God. So I turned my public on and this guy's just stood there like, wow, you're really edgy and all of this. And at that point, I just scrapped the entire idea. And I was like, I'm going to enjoy the music, but not try to produce videos on it. It's not my forte.
Yeah.
So I mostly made PKing content. I was always a PKer. Like I PK'd pretty much since I played in 2003, all the way up into old school. That was more or less the only thing that I ever had any interest in this game. So all of my content was PKing related content. So yeah.
And then since then, how did you kind of evolve as your channel went?
So I basically what happened was when I took that break for 3 years when RuneScape 3 came out, I went from being quite, I would class myself back in those days like as quite a toxic PKer, as I think you see nowadays.
That's kind of redundant though, toxic PKer. I mean, is there any like a friendly, helpful PKer?
No, not really.
Okay.
Unless you want to class Mad Cow, but still, he flames out the clans, so that's one thing. But in the time that I quit the game, like as I ended my RuneScape, like that era ended for me. I was super addicted to staking, and I was just a toxic PKer, to be totally honest. And it pretty much boiled down to like it was like me. It wasn't the people. I was like kind of like internally angry at myself instead of the people I was being horrible to. Which is why now when I get like negative comments and stuff like that, I never react badly to it, or for the most part, I try not to, because I can put myself in that person's position. And I'm like, I know it's going to get better for you as it did for me. But in those 3 years where I didn't play and RuneScape just didn't exist, it was RuneScape free, which I assume you two both stand on the same kind of position as me, where you look at RuneScape free and you're just like, this is the game that I grew up and loved, and they've turned it into this mockery. Like, what is this? And in those years, every single day, I would just think in my head, like, God, I'd love to just log into RuneScape, like the old school RuneScape, and just walk around Lumbridge, or like go and kill a monster. I'd go and kill goblins right now if I could, but it was just, we couldn't, because we didn't have it.
Right.
So by the time I came back to old school, my mentality had completely changed. My like, there'd like a switch had been flicked, and I was like, you know what? I'm not so interested in killing people now. Or it's not my main focus of this game. I just want to enjoy it for what it is, because I never really got to experience like PVM or like skilling or anything like that, because I was always fixated on just one thing. And what basically ended up happening was, when I came back to playing old school, I obviously said previously I was making videos and stuff like that, and I was working a job. It was just a dead-end job, typical sort of 9 to 5 kind of job that you're just looking at the clock all day. And I had a friend who worked there, and I remember one day he said to me, he was like, hey, I've been watching this RuneScape, old school RuneScape. I see the games come back. I've been watching like Chris Archie or whoever. And he literally said to me, he was like, can you imagine how big your YouTube channel would be if you continued playing the game? And like, it was that moment where I was like, you're fucking right. I should have continued. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, of course.
I was just there. I was just like, fuck. I was like, you're totally right, dude. I should have kept doing it, man. I wouldn't be working this shitty job. So I pretty much just went home that night, and I did my first ever YouTube commentary, which you guys will never find and the public will never see again, because it was horrendous. And then it just took me, I don't know, maybe like a year or so in old school, making old school RuneScape content, to really get to a point where I started to grow. And I think what I did was I just did different video ideas. I tried everything. And then after a year of it, I just looked back at my most popular videos and I was like, which one did people enjoy the most? And then I realized that a lot of people liked these, time-oriented money-making challenges. And I guess it's because a lot of people struggle with making money in the game and they don't necessarily know what to do if you're a new player.
Right.
So I just ran with it. And it was like an avalanche. I went from having basically no subs to just acquiring I think in 1 month, I think I got like 13 or 14,000 subs.
Oh my goodness.
In 1 month.
Was there any,
which is like an avalanche.
did somebody like recommend you, or is it just the algorithm smiled upon you and suddenly you were getting all these?
Yep.
Wow.
It was just the algorithm.
Just hit the algorithm.
I think, to be honest, not to toot my own trumpet too much or anything, but like where I spent so much time and I actively watched content creators, even when I didn't play the game, I could very easily identify the videos that I liked to watch and then the videos that I wasn't so interested in. Mm-hmm. So I think that I came into this as a viewer who had certain expectations of what I would like to see. And I've just adapted that.
Yeah.
So whenever I make content, I always make something that I would like to watch. And that's pretty much the bottom line. But I think us modern day content creators have a bit of a word for it. At least I do. So I call it like algorithm chasing, right? Or algorithm surfing, whatever you want to call it. It's like there's certain things you can do that will 100% increase your subs. I think the easiest, very standout option right now is PvP Hardcore Iron Man. It's like if you want to become part of that, algorithm surfing, that's a very good way to very easily get new viewers to your channel. And if you're good at what you're doing, or you're funny or whatever, like you're probably gonna get some subs.
Well, see, that's the problem with me is I got to be good at that, and I'd wander in there probably just get my butt kicked every single time. But
I mean, that's the thing though. People love the old stuff as well, man. Like I'm subbed to this guy on YouTube. I found his channel. He does free to play PKing videos in 2021. In like 2007 style, like he's playing like Bullet for My Valentine, and he's swinging like a Ruby 2H, and it's the most refreshing thing to see. I'm like, I miss this. I miss this.
That's great. Oh,
I should probably give him a shout out. His name's I Hunt Mains. I Hunt Mains.
I'm looking him up.
You should totally get him on. By the way, I don't think he's ever spoken once in his videos. Just music, just hardcore music and edits.
So who were your,
who
would you say would be your inspirations? You said you watched all these videos and you kind of liked the way that like you knew that's how you wanted to do videos. Are there any guys that specifically that you could point out to were like influences for you?
At the time, people like C Engineer, Solo Mission, Kemp Q and so forth weren't really very prominent. Like I don't even know if they made videos at the time. I guess the people I looked up to the most, Boaty would be an absolutely huge one for me. Just all around the board is just a good person, very generous, and somebody that I even look up to this day. I've got nothing but respect for Adam. I think he's such a nice person. He was a very big influence for me. And then in terms of getting it to like my style, because like I said, I was always into PKing, I'd have to go with Frames, Kevin, because he obviously to this day still only does PvP content. And he was also doing like challenges and trying to make his videos as interesting as possible for his viewers. So I'd probably say those two were my biggest influences when I first started.
They're good guys. Two guys we also need to get on the show. Have you had them on your show at all?
We've had Kevin. We've had Frames. I haven't yet messaged Adam because I kind of dude, this is so weird, but like I've spoken to my boys on the podcast, and like I've said we'll get them on when we get our groove down. Like once we feel like, you know, we're getting good at this,
that makes sense.
The big dogs on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's we kind of have like an approach to it at the moment where we're like, we plan to hopefully get like every single old School Runescape content creator to come on. So, you know, they're probably going to be like some of the last ones. And we're hoping at that point, it's just going to be like, people will be like, hey, why haven't you gone on the show? You know what I mean? So we got a little mental game plan going, but I don't know if it's going to work out. We'll see.
Yeah, that makes sense. We have the same thing going. Like we were talking about the noob show. Like, well, we don't want to get him on like right away because they're like all five people will watch him, and then everyone will miss that. But yeah, I get what you're saying there. So at what point do you think you feel like you kind of made it, that you felt you were like a big channel? Is there any time where you sat back and like, wow, I'm really making it? Was it right around that when you get those 13,000 views in a month or subscribers?
I can tell you exactly when it was. And I will say that I do not think that I have made it. In like, so I always looked at it as when I hit 100k subs, I was like, when I get 100k subs on YouTube, I will feel very accomplished.
Yeah.
Like that will be for me, like that's the, you know, the Omega Milestone.
Did you get like
when I make that, I might.
Did you get a YouTube plaque for that?
Yes, I do. And it's somewhere with dust covered all over it somewhere. Only because we're renting right now and I can't put nails in the walls, but I will put it up. I do like it. I don't actually know where it is. It's probably like covered in dust. So you do. It's really cool, actually. It really feels like you've achieved something, because I wasn't sure how I was going to feel when I got it. I wasn't sure if it was just going to be like, oh yeah, but it actually does mean a lot to me. I know that's kind of ironic because it's covered in dust, but still, I'll de-dust it at some point. So yeah, I think that was it. I think it was when I was going to hit 100k. I felt like I'd feel more secure in doing this as like a full-time thing, which is interesting because it's not necessarily the case, because I feel like with the amount of content creators that are in the game now, it's like that bar has only risen. And it's like, I think I have like 140k subs. I think it's 140. It's around there. But like when you compare that to a lot of other people, it's like just touching the surface. I feel like a lot of people now have like 200k, and some people have 400k plus, which is just absolutely insane.
Right.
I don't really know. I don't know, boys. I don't know when I would feel like I've made it. I don't know. I don't know if there is like a point where I'll ever feel like that, to be honest.
Are you doing your streaming full time? Is that your actual job?
Yeah, so I have been. I started doing streaming full time when the whole lockdown came in. So here in the UK, like we've been on full lockdown for over a year, where, you know, the only reason you can go outside in public is to go to the shops, like the grocery shops. And I started streaming around that time because I was just like, I'm gonna be so bored. Like, I need to do something. And it worked out amazingly because I mean I managed to basically make a really, really beautiful, wholesome community. I love my community. They're so freaking cool. And honestly, like, I don't know why I started doing it, but now that I have been doing it full time, I couldn't stop. Because it's like, I just appreciate all of the people that come into my chat every single day, the community that we've made. And I never thought in a million years that it would be so good for me. Like, from like a mental standpoint, like being able to talk to like a variation of different people on a daily basis. And I have to be honest, I definitely prefer doing streaming over my YouTube channel, because for me, when I did YouTube and I was, you know, hauling ass with it and trying to like pump out videos every few days, it was quite boring and it was quite lonely because I would just sit there playing the game. I'd kill Bandos for like 20 hours and I'd just be watching like a YouTube video or just watching a Netflix show, which might sound good, but there's something so interactive about seeing, you know, you see your friend like Taylor's Warriors joins the chat and he's just chatting to you about his day.
Yeah.
There's something that's so nice about that. Like, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
But in terms of like stability / making it, I have no idea. I don't even know if that's a thing with YouTube and content creators. I don't know. I really don't know. I can tell you.
Oh, okay. Well, fair enough. I mean, I get there's still like you get one point and then it's like, okay, well, it's not enough. I got to get like this much more, and then it's like an unquenchable thirst, I guess, when you're trying to feel that. I was just curious if at any point you felt like, oh, you know what, I'm able to support myself doing streaming full time. That's for me, that's pretty huge. I would never be able to do that myself, but it's great that you're at that point, and like 100,000 subs on YouTube, like you're saying, that's just an amazing achievement. So that's great for you. I had to ask you, did you ever won a golden gnome? I didn't see you on the list. So I was curious if you had been nominated or anything.
I don't think I've even been nominated for a golden
gnome. Oh no,
I don't believe so. No.
Well, sorry,
feels bad.
Sorry to bring that up then. Well, me neither. I've never won a golden gnome either. Kyle's the only jerk here that's won one. So I would give him a hard time about that. But
if I can add on to what I just said as well, like in terms of feeling like you've made it or having some sort of like stability, I think another form that came in was definitely sponsors.
Oh yeah.
Having that level of financial stability from sponsors, like that for me was such a shift in like my mental. Like, it was unbelievable.
What was that like? Did they just email you out of nowhere and they're like, hey man, we want to give you some money? Just how does that work? I've never gotten an actual decent sponsor. I mean, had crappy ones, like attempts at that, but never had like a legitimate sponsor.
So yeah, it started with me. I took a sponsor from a guy who was a fan of mine who was working on a game of his own. Oh. And it was a Steam game. I knew it was like a legit game. Like, my biggest concern was obviously I have a lot of like principles and morals. I would never advertise some sort of like straight up gambling to my viewers, because I just think that's a terrible path to go down, and I would not wish it on anybody.
Yeah.
And
well, so as long as it's not a mobile game, you should be okay.
Well, here's the thing. Game. I don't necessarily have a problem with mobile games, and I do take mobile game sponsors. But as long as it's not harming people,
right?
Like, that's my big thing, right? It's like I see it like this. I've justified it in a way of, it's like it takes off a lot of stress from me, like financially, to have to like pay rent every single month and pay bills. And it's like if somebody, downloads the mobile game that I'm being sponsored by and they don't like it, it's like, that's fair enough. That's absolutely fine. But it's a very stable system for actually having like a consistent income rolling through month by month. The only thing that it's really based upon are your views. Like, they only really look for people who have higher views, because realistically, if you're getting probably below, like, it all depends, but like what I've been told is that if you've got under like 50,000 views, they're probably going to look somewhere else, because it's like it's not really worth their time for that small of a sponsorship.
Right.
So it started off as I just had a random sponsorship with a guy who contacted me. It was a Steam game, so I knew it was safe, because Steam games, they have to be verified and all of that stuff. And I think that just kind of opened that door for then other companies to reach out to me and ask me if I'd like to be sponsored.
Oh, wow.
Which is all fine and dandy. Like, it's definitely not a bad thing, but it becomes very time consuming after a while, because you have to go back and forth and you have to try to negotiate prices with these businesses and so forth. And if you're anything like me and you don't really know anything about analytics, it's like you don't really know if you're getting taken for a mug or if you're getting a good deal.
Yeah.
So basically, I ended up getting invited to like a partnership. And it's a guy called Mason. It started out as Crusader Talent, which is pretty much specifically for old school RuneScape content creators. And I was the second person to join. And it was basically like, hey, would you like to join our partnership program, where I can't really go into percentages or anything like that. But the concept is we will find sponsorships. We will do all the negotiating for you. And we will just come to you every month saying, hey, these companies want to sponsor you. Which one would you like to take?
Oh,
or
wow.
Which ones? Yeah. So that for me was a huge like safety net in terms of like financial security. And honestly, like I would say sponsors pretty much single-handedly changed me just playing RuneScape and seeing how it's going for a few years to doing it full time. Like the sponsorships are very significant in terms of that finance.
Oh, wow.
For sure.
That's great. So I got to do a wellness check on Kyle really quickly. I haven't heard from anything. I need to make sure he hasn't been blown away. Are you in there, Kyle? Are you still alive?
Yeah, it's okay. I've been monitoring the situation every now and
okay,
then.
Has it gotten worse? Where are we standing? Are you still under active warning?
It's much better.
Okay.
It's much better now. It's cleared up.
Okay.
So thank you for checking.
So if you guys are just joining us, Kyle's going through an active tornado warning phase, so he may blow away anytime on the podcast. So we wanted to do it anyway, so that we could catch Kyle's death live if possible, because it's always great for content.
It's content,
it's always
baby.
About the content.
That's
right. What is the protocol when there's a tornado? Because we don't get them in the UK. Like, what are you supposed to do? Just like get down on the ground or hide somewhere or something?
As somebody who lives in Chicago, there isn't really a protocol, because people who are in the city are like, that's never going to happen. And usually it doesn't. But when I grew up in the suburbs, when, you're surrounded by flat land, we had to do tornado drills every year.
God,
and I feel like if you're like not in the US and like the Midwest, this is going to sound like a weird thing probably. Because I assume you guys didn't have tornado drills in the UK, right?
No, we don't have anything like that.
Oh my, okay. That's weird to me.
Oh, wow.
We have nothing that's venomous. We have no sharks. We have no tornadoes. We have no volcanoes. Nothing.
They just
bad
have rain.
Really
That's it.
over here.
What do you guys have to do drills for? Do you guys have drills for anything?
Like Germans bombing them.
Fires or?
I mean, you will if you have a proper job. Yeah, sure.
Oh,
but like just a regular citizen, no.
Oh,
there's like no drills for anything.
Oh God,
Boris Johnson drill. I don't know what you guys have to watch out for.
I grew up in Ohio. I lived like 50 miles from a nuclear power plant, and we had tornadoes, so we would have nuclear power plant drills where the sirens would be tested all the time. We didn't actually have to do anything, but the sirens would go off just to test it. And then we had the tornado drills in school where you had to get under your desk and like tuck into a ball and face away from the windows.
Tuck into a ball.
God,
that's right.
I never want to move anywhere
That's
near.
terrifying.
It is. That's why I'm like, like my wife wants to move to like the Midwest because the land's cheaper out there. We're in California now, and she wants to like, let's move to the Midwest. You can get property out there. I'm like, no, they got tornadoes out there. There's no way. I'll deal with an earthquake once every 30 years.
Dodge it. You can dodge it. Go to Chicago again. Nobody is going. Like when I was on the phone with Taylor, they were like, nobody's in the basement right there. I'm like, yeah, of course they're not, because
it doesn't hit cities.
Think a tornado is going to happen. Yeah, they think that it only happens in Kansas.
The tornadoes know better. They don't bother with the cities. They just go for the farmland. It's much more fun out there.
Right, exactly. They want the cows. They don't want us.
It's like aliens. The aliens don't go for the cities. They go for the farmland.
Right. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a crazy lifestyle, boys. Jesus. Yeah. Am I right in thinking that a lot of American houses are made of like wood and plasterboard? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Like there aren't many stone-built buildings.
No. Yeah, I mean it's a lot of brick, wood. It's all things that have been made in the last 300 years. So
yeah,
nothing stone or anything that has any interesting history in it. Every American architecture is a little bit boring. So
we call it Generica, where it's like you go and it's like nice. Starbucks, McDonald's, Walmart, and it looks exactly the same. Like if they drop you off on a corner, you'd look at it and you'd see it, and you'd have no idea where in the country you are, because it's basically you could be anywhere. That's pretty much our American architecture.
So I'm thinking, like, if they built the houses out of brick and stone and they made them proper, would that help against tornadoes, or would that just be more expensive to fix? Because all of the houses here in the UK are like made of stone. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think a tornado would do too much. You'd probably lose a couple tiles. But I don't think the house would be ripped up.
Well, I don't know. In New England, they make them out of brick, but they don't really get tornadoes out there. In Florida, they make them out of concrete for the hurricanes, but that's not quite as powerful as a tornado. In the Midwest, I don't know if they
we've never learned our lesson, and all the house they're like, I can't believe this keeps happening, and then they rebuild the house using wood, and it happens.
It's like the little pigs. They don't learn the little pigs, but they don't learn their lessons. It just gets blown down every time. They're like, let's make it out of wood again. It should be fine. I think it's just cheaper to replace it, because if they did it out of bricks, and the bricks would get knocked down, and then you have to replace that, and it's twice as expensive. But if they just make it out of straw, then it gets blown over, and they just costs nothing.
It's
anyway.
Not even life threatening. Yeah. It's purely from a resource and a money conservation standpoint. Tornadoes are just a mild inconvenience.
It makes it look more daunting on the news when they're like, there was $100 billion worth of damage. You're like, yeah, look at us. That's so much damage.
That's right. The media is paying off the construction people industry. Living in Kansas, construction industry.
They're out there lining up the trailer houses like, oh, you want to live here. Trailer houses is the way to go. That's what
they want you to be scared.
That's what the tornadoes usually do, is they go for the trailer parks and toss those around.
Oh man!
Well, you're learning a lot about America today. I hope that you're writing all this down.
yeah, I've taken some notes. Don't worry, boys.
Well, here in California, they always joke about the earthquakes. Like, oh god, why would you want to live in California? They got earthquakes all the time. Like, I've been here, 15 years. I've experienced one. No, not even one. I mean, I had one earthquake that we kind of felt, and it was like, oh wow, that's like a decent earthquake, like it really rumbled. Maybe two that are like a really rumbled and you felt it. I hadn't experienced any like huge one where I had to get out of the house or anything like that. There was one that was like a 7.9 a few years ago. It was like 100 miles away, and we didn't even feel it. So it's like earthquakes are nothing here. You have to worry about fires more than like wildfires more than earthquakes. But
man, you guys got it real shit out there by the sounds of it. What the hell? See, like where I'm from, the UK, I don't think we're close to like any tectonic plates. So like we never have earthquakes. We never have we have storms occasionally, but it's never, it's not going to blow your house away and stuff. Talking about earthquakes, I will say lucky, because it's something which I always wanted to experience, just because it's so like unreal for someone living in the UK. I remember I was in a hostel in New Zealand. I think it was Wellington, and I was like up on the third or fourth story of this hostel, and oh my god, that was the most terrifying thing. The entire building felt like it was swaying backwards and forwards.
Oh, during an earthquake?
Oh god.
Yes.
Oh wow.
It was terrifying.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Dude, that was such a silly time. So I went out to New Zealand with two of my best friends, and we rented a camper van for 21 days. We were only out there for a month. And we basically were just living in the camper van, cruising along, just seeing both parts of the country because it's broken into two parts. And we decided one time that we were going to park up by the ocean, okay? And we get there and it's beautiful and like nobody's there. And we're like, why is nobody here? Like, why is no one camping out? And we went down to the beach. I had like my rod, I was going fishing, and that tide was incredibly choppy. All right. Yeah, it was very savage out there and it wasn't very good for fishing. So we go to bed, wake up in the morning, and my friend was like, boys, I was so convinced last night that there was somebody outside of our van fucking with us, rocking it. Oh, and we were like, wait, what do you, me and my other friend slept straight through it. We were like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And when we got into a town and we actually managed to get some Wi-Fi, we were just flooded with messages from our families, like our mums and dads were like, are you guys okay? We've not heard anything from you. And we're like, wait, what are you talking about? And they were like, there were severe earthquake and tsunami warnings where you're staying. God. And we slept like on the beach. And we had no idea. It was so fucking stupid.
Oh, man. Yeah, tsunamis is the other thing that freaks me out too. I would have nightmares all the time. I used to live like a few blocks away from the beach, and I would always have nightmares about tsunamis coming and washing me away. But we do have to worry about those, but it's not as scary when you learn about them. Like you get plenty of warning usually with the tsunami.
Right.
But and even if it's like an earthquake, like right there, like the water will rush out and it'll give you like a good couple minutes warning, letting you know there's a tsunami on the way that you can hopefully find higher ground. But yeah, that's still pretty scary to worry about.
Yeah, you're selling me on living in the UK now. I loved it when I visited, and I'm like, oh great, I can escape Tornado Alley and all this other bullshit. Cool. I don't want to dox you, but where about in the UK are you in like I'm trying to think of like in proximity to like London, because that's like the area I know.
That's the one city he knows in UK.
Yeah, the only one.
Everybody knows London. So I'm from the southwest. I live quite close. The easiest way of saying where I'm from is Bristol. Okay. And Bristol, like if you hear Bristol, if anyone's been to Bristol before, they instantly recognize my accent. I would say I have more of a Somersetian accent, which is more of like a rural country accent because that's where I grew up. But if you ever do come back to the UK, there's a city which is one of the smallest cities in the UK. It's actually very close to where I live. It's called Bath. Okay.
Oh, I've heard of Bath.
And it's more, it's called the Roman Baths. And it really is just an old Roman city that is now lived in by us Brits, and it is beautiful. Like if you guys like old architecture, if you like history or anything like that, like pretty much every building in Bath, there's some sort of like Roman building on the outside of it, whether it be, at the top, like some pillars or something like that. And they're made out of like the thickest stone slabs you will ever see.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's a really, really beautiful city, and it's very like it's a hot tourist place. But it's beautiful. You guys should definitely check it out if you come to the UK.
Yeah, next time I get invited to RuneFest, I'll be sure to swing by. Speaking of RuneFest, have you ever been there?
Yeah, I have. I've gone to I think 2 or no, I've been to 3.
And which years were you able to go?
Oh God, I'm not very good with my years, man.
Well, did you go back in say 2010, 2011, where we might have had a chance?
No.
Okay.
No, it was. I'll say this: the last 3 RuneFests that happened were the ones that I got invited to.
Okay.
So yeah, all the last 3, and they were very good. I really enjoyed RuneFest. I thought it was so fun.
Did you get to meet up with a lot of fans or hang out with the video makers while you were there?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, like even though I had, as you said, like, I've got over 100K subs on YouTube. I feel like I didn't meet that many fans. I spent a lot of my time with like content creators and, talking to JMods and stuff like that. It's interesting to see the difference between YouTubers and then Twitch streamers, because I feel like with Twitch streams, like you basically have like a very tight knit community. And all the streamers were constantly like flooded with people that watch their content and so forth. Like, I think I probably met, I don't know, in those free times, maybe 10 or 20 people that watched my videos that came up to me. Whereas like most of the streamers would have, that many people around them at one time. Yeah, like that kind of. So it's really interesting to see that, and I totally get it now. Now that I stream, it's like, I speak with my chat all the time, and a lot of them want to rent a house out for RuneFest. I mean, to be more precise, they want to rent a fucking castle, which I don't know if that's gonna happen, but we'll see. I think that would be sick. And like I already know that my next RuneFest experience is going to be a lot different from my last ones, just because streaming really, I feel like it really shows like you as a person, shows off your personality, right? Like people really get to know you when you stream. And then when it's YouTube, it's like it might be a 10 or 20-minute video where they kind of just get to see the bits that you want them to see, so it's less personable. Whereas like streaming, you go and watch any streamer right now, they might have been live for 7 or 8 hours. Chances are they're being themselves, because it's very hard to play a character for that length of time.
Yeah. Well, when you did YouTube stuff, did you have like a clan chat where people would jump in and talk to you like in the game, or was it just you just do the videos and people leave comments?
I would say yes, the clan chat. I never really advertised it that much, but people that just generically like, wanted to come on in and wanted to chat and stuff. We had that. Like I would always be in my CC. Even to this day, I'm always in Raikseys CC. But back when I first started doing it, we were using TeamSpeak.
Right.
I don't think Discord was a thing at the time.
No.
And it was pretty much just a case of like, we'd have a really tight-knit community. And if there was anyone that was like really cool, really chill, somebody that we would just get on with, it was like they would be given the TeamSpeak information.
They get the invite.
Then it's like, yeah, it was like up to them whether or not they wanted to join. And I think that was pretty much done back then, probably through YouTube DMs, which I don't even know if that's a thing anymore, because they've changed the site so much. But yeah, I was never like hugely big on the clan chat or anything like that, because it caused a bit of drama.
Oh, and,
yeah. Like, people get a bit power hungry as well.
I'm sure you know. Gosh. Bringing up scars.
But nowadays we just have Discord. I love Discord. It's probably one of the only social medias that I'm active on. And I really like the Discord. It's just, it's so much better than TeamSpeak. Yeah. It's like a social media within a TeamSpeak. It's so nice.
Like I used to have the kind of that community you're talking about, which is great to have. I had that in my clan chat where I get like hundreds of people to show up and we'd all talk with each other. I would leave, I'd come back, and there's still 100 people in my clan chat talking with each other. So it's like you don't even have to be there. They sit there in their own organic community, and you just come in and then we'd all have fun together. So I get what you're talking about with the whole community, which is why I was asking if you kind of had like a clan chat thing, but it seems like you had like a real restricted kind of community there. Not quite the same as the Discord one.
Yeah, it's changed a lot now though with Discord. Discord's such an easy place to have everybody in, and like you can moderate it as you please. Like with our Discord, I would say probably the people who chill and talk the most, funnily enough, are actually people that don't play RuneScape. So there'll be like recently I've got into a game called Escape from Tarkov. I don't know if either of you have heard of that game before.
Yeah, I know that game. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got that game. Well, I got it gifted to me, which is very kind of them. Yeah. And I started playing it, and now every single evening I look at my Discord and there's like anywhere from 5 to 10 people all in the Discords, all in the Tarkov channels, like gaming together. Man. And it's very nice to see. But I think that's probably because like old school RuneScape nowadays, it's more of like efficiency scape. Yeah. So it's kind of all around the board more efficient to do stuff on your own. Yeah. So people don't really play that much together, which is kind of sad to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had jokes, and in fact, the video I that I made a week ago, I kind of made a joke about efficiency, because that's kind of what RuneScape has turned into nowadays, where there's no community aspect to it as much, except for maybe the stream communities. But yeah, I agree with you there. It's not quite what it used to be. But as far as you had mentioned, you had kind of changed your way you used to do the streaming before. What advice would you give yourself? If you can go back 10 years and say, look, man, you need to do things like this way. Is there anything you would tell yourself 10 years ago?
I think I don't know if I could say 10 years. I think I could probably say maybe like 2 years ago or even like a year ago. When it comes to streaming, and like by no means am I an expert at this, and you know, it is what it is. But the advice I would give anybody that's trying to like form a community that they want to be a part of is like, in some ways it's like you have to moderate it. It's like if you have people coming in and they're acting a certain way that you don't like, it's like you need to speak to them and just be honest and be like, hey, I don't want you to be, you know, typing that toxic stuff or whatever it is.
Right.
Like, this isn't the place for it. And also I think a big thing would be view count. Now, numbers when it comes to content creation is a minefield because it can really affect your emotions. You know, it's like if you have a YouTube video that doesn't do so well, or if your streams are struggling, it's like, it's hard not to let that affect you. So I think the advice I would give myself is focus on the people who are actually spending their time to be with you and watch your content instead of worrying about those people that aren't. Yeah. And I think that if you kind of go down that line and you just make sure that the people that are watching you have an amazing time, it's like, you know, what more can you do? That's probably what I'd tell myself.
Okay. That's good advice. Yeah, I'm trying to build up my own kind of streaming audience here. So, love to all those guys that show up to all three of you that show up to my streams. Good to have you. But, so what would you say is the best compliment you've ever received? Oh, thanks for the follow, Raiksey.
Hey, no problem, man. I got you, dude. Make it 4.
All right, 4.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Build that community. So what would you say is the best compliment you've ever received?
Best compliment? Oh, God.
It could be YouTube, could be on your stream.
It's kind of difficult. Like, not to say that I have an overwhelming amount of compliments. I think in some ways, like, I sometimes don't feel like worthy of the compliments, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I definitely know what you mean. You're sitting here talking to me up in the beginning of the show. I'm sitting here shaking my head like, oh, no. But yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, so it's like, I get a lot of really nice comments, like, in my streams and stuff, just people telling me my content may have helped them, like, you know, through a tough time and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I think it's hard to just pinpoint one, but whenever I hear comments that are like, you know, I've helped them out through a tough time, or, you know, maybe I've helped them achieve a goal or given them motivation to do something, like, that's pretty much the biggest compliment for me, I'd say.
Oh, yeah. That's great hearing stuff like that.
Yeah. Like, it feels like I'm doing something which has a purpose. Like, if I know that I'm creating something which is, you know, actively improving somebody's day in any way, shape, or form, like, that makes me feel so good. I'm like, that's amazing. I live for that. You know, if I can improve somebody's day or their mind in a positive way, like, that just makes me feel so good about what I do.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd say that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Kyle, you still okay, man? Usually I'm like dying by this time of the show. I'm like completely out of energy because I've got small kids, so they keep me up all night and I'm like dead. And Kyle's chiming in, carrying the energy. But Kyle's, I gotta make sure he's still alive here.
I'm a little bit fried today. I'm sorry. My parents are coming into town, so I'm trying to coordinate. Okay. I have to jump off here in a minute or so.
Yeah, I got something going on too, but.
We're into hard overtime right now. We cut off the podcast segment after the hour, but have we even done that? Are we still going, Jason?
No, I'm still going. I'm recording. I'm having a good time. I feel like we've been a little more informal than we normally are, and just
absolutely
freestyling it a little bit, and it's been doing great because I've noticed that's pretty much all the other podcasters do. The good ones, like not us, they just kind of talk, and I've been kind of doing that a little bit more this time, and it feels like it's working. And plus, we got a guy; he's a consummate pro. He knows what he's doing. He does this podcast stuff all the time. He's an old pro,
Well, learning from the masters. It is my first time being a guest, so it's been a learning experience for me as well. I'm sorry if I took too much airtime.
Oh, no problem. No, I'd rather it take 2 hours than an hour. So it's glad that you're talking freely, and it's a good time for me.
Well, I've got to jump off in a little like in a minute here, but I wanna ask one last question because I'm always very curious about this kind of thing. I'm recently entering my adult career life, and I'm thinking about like, oh shit, I have to make money to survive and things like that. And I'm always curious if what it's like to be doing content creation as a full-time job. I've always done it as like kind of a side hustle. But do you feel like you have like the energy? You mentioned that you've been doing it full time since like quarantine began, right?
Yeah, so that was just streaming, but YouTube
Okay.
and just
YouTube
RuneScape content
was
creation probably 4 or 5 years now. Like
okay.
just doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is your like what? Because after like 5 years of having done like Minecraft stuff full time, like I was totally drained by it, and that wasn't a game that I didn't really enjoy. Now RuneScape is a game that I assume you enjoy, and that was a
Yeah.
game I probably enjoyed a lot, much more, much more than Minecraft. So I have to ask, like, has it waned in interest at all? Like, do you find that you're finding ways to keep it interesting for yourself? And what are your feelings towards content creation after having done it for 5 years full time?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think for me, it definitely has, it basically went from being something that I really, really loved, which I still do. But I feel like if you take anything that you really love and then you're forced to play it, or whatever that
Yeah.
thing is, it's like eventually it's going to feel more like a job than
Yeah.
what it
Right.
is, a hobby. And I think for me, it's trying to hit that balance between, having enough money coming in each month. And that's where, like I said, sponsors really help with keeping that completely off of the radar. And I don't have to worry so much about that. Um, I think for me, it's about setting goals. So I
Mhm.
usually set my own goals. It's like I'll have some kind of challenge or restraints to whatever video I'm making. And that keeps it interesting for me. And I
Mhm.
also don't force myself to play if I don't want to. Okay. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
recommend that to everybody, whether you're a content creator or not. If you're not feeling playing it, you're burnt out, don't play the game. Play something else. Like games are
Right.
not supposed to be hard work. It's supposed to be enjoyed. It's supposed to be fun. So it's like, I often play other games. Like, I mean, pretty much every evening I play either League of Legends or Escape from Tarkov. Or, if I'm
Hmm.
doing something in RuneScape that I'm really enjoying, like I'll play some of that. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
would say in terms of like financially doing it full time, God, yeah, that was a minefield of an experience because going
Right.
from being paid a paycheck every month to then just being like, I am going to get paid a reflection of how hard I've worked this month.
Right.
And that all it doesn't even always come down to that. It's like if you go to January, the month after Christmas, it's like
Mhm.
advertisers don't advertise as much.
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
the first year I did this full time, I effectively went from having a sick December where I was like, oh man, like I can live off of this 1,000 USD a month to, oh my god. I remember messaging Framed. I was like, mate, what has happened? I was like, I got more views this month, but my income is halved. I'm like, bro, I was like, what the fuck is going on? And
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
just like, that's January, man. He's like, that happens every year. And I was like,
Oh
oh
my
my god.
god.
I
See,
was
I
like,
never
what am I
knew
gonna
that.
do?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
Um,
it's definitely hard, but it's like if you really
right.
want something, I feel like if you're very passionate about something succeeding
Mhm.
and you put everything you have into it, like from my experience, it's like if I really want something, I will be at it day and night. I will
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
destroy my sleeping pattern to make sure I get whatever it is done because I need to get it done.
Right.
And it was incredibly, incredibly hard. I will
Right.
say that. I think it's just about getting your foot in. It's like when you get your foot in and you know what it is that people like to watch about you and what you also enjoy. And also it does need to make, enough money for you to be able to survive doing it. It
Right.
takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to think about it all the time. I would say the first 2 years of doing this, probably shaved off 10 years of my life with how stressed I was every day.
Yep, I hear that. Well, your passion definitely shows in some of your videos. Like, I'm going through, I'm like, you are spending so long playing this game, and not only like just playing this game to make the content and set those goals for yourself and meet those goals, but also to really make like an entertaining video and a presentation out of it. And like the effort is just like, I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. This is insane. Like I can barely like manage balancing playing the game and also creating content in the game that's good and entertaining, where you're like thriving in both of those. So it's absolutely like, it's so cool to see you balance that so well. And after 5 years of having done it, like it definitely shows that you've been striking a much better balance. So I'm really happy for you. That's so cool.
Yo, thank you, man. I'm blushing over here, dude. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I wanted to ask something totally unrelated as well. After I was creeping on your Instagram, is I saw that you're also a Pokemon card collector.
Oh boy!
Right. Hell yeah!
I'm gonna check out now. You guys can talk for the next 3 hours about this.
I had to ask. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I recently got my old Pokemon collection delivered from my parents' house to my apartment, and I was kind of going through them. I was like, God, I wonder if these are like worth anything. And I'm like, I feel like I'm in that collector's mentality now that I'm an adult. I'm like, I don't care about having the cards anymore. I'm like, how much is this worth?
Yep. Man, I mean, I have always been like, I'm kind of one of those, like, I'm always all in or all out, and
Right.
Pokemon is no exception. My Instagram, I haven't uploaded on here in ages. I kind of neglect this social media. But yeah, I have, I would say, quite a considerable collection. I pretty much started collecting back in, I think it was like 2014, 2015.
Oh my gosh.
Where, that was the second time ever buying Pokemon since being a child. And, I went from being, hey, mom and dad, can I have some pocket money, to I have an income. I can spend whatever I like. So,
So how many Charizards do you own now?
Hell yeah, dude.
Oh god, too many, man, too many. But
wait, do you just collect or do you play the game too?
I just collect. I want to play the game, but I don't really have anybody that would play with me. And I mean, like, the actual, in real life game, not just like the online TCG.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, I've been collecting, I'd say, pretty much throughout since like 2014. I pretty much bought like most of my cards back then when they were inexpensive, but even back then it was a lot of money for me, at least, when I was working, the job that I was working. But my biggest accomplishment with my Pokemon collecting was I completed the Shadowless first edition base set. Like,
no way! Wow. You got every single one? Holy
dude,
cow,
I got everyone, Charizard included, like the whole shebang.
Is that one worth like a fortune?
I think if it comes back as like a PSA 10, which is the grading company, I think they sell for like 300k USD.
Yeah,
like it's kind of nutty.
Or 500k. Something crazy.
You should get yours graded.
I mean, dude, I'm so dude. I have this is how I see it, right? I love these cards. These are my pride's collection. Like, I love looking at them. I love the artworks, and it's like I have them. They're right next to me.
He's the one that pays for 300k, not the one that sells it for 300k.
Dude, I don't want to put them in a box and have some delivery driver like chucking them in the back of the airplane. Like, do you know what I mean?
Because of PSA 1, because of this lazy ass driver throwing this shit around, dude. I hear you.
Like, that's another thing as well. Like, I get asked this all the time, and I used to get bombarded with this. People were like, "Oh, why are you not selling these? You could buy a house or whatever." But like, here's the thing. I never bought these to sell these. I bought them for me. I bought them because I really wanted them. And it just so happened to turn out that they then went up in price. Okay.
Right.
And also I didn't pay very much for them because I bought them, most of them, like 5 or 6 years ago. Like, I picked up most of my first edition holos for like £20, which is like $30. Damn. It's like the price increase has been insane.
I know.
But I don't know, man. Like, put it this way. Me and my fiance, we're actually buying a house this year. And I completed the first edition base set last year. And I literally said to her when I got that entire set, I was like, I am going to work my ass off this year so that when we come to buy the house, I don't need to sell them. Like that was my motivation.
Motivation. Yeah, that's great motivation right there.
Yeah. So, but it's a nice backup. Who knows, man? Maybe one day that would be my pension. Who knows? We'll see.
Well, I don't even want to joke about that now because I know that there's definitely like two kinds of people in like the card collecting scene. Is the people that collect it for sentimental, and that's me with I collect. Here's my nerdy shit. Is my Magic the Gathering collection is. I don't think I could part with a lot of these cards. Some of them, maybe the ones I'm not using and the ones that are expensive that aren't in any decks, but I'm like, I use these cards. I play with them. I had them since I was a kid. But like my Pokemon collection was never really as sentimental to me, which is why I'm kind of like, I could grade these and sell these if I wanted to. But like, nobody's coming near the Magic collection.
No. Do you have any Black Lotuses by any chance? I've never collected, but I know a bit about Magic. Just a bit.
I wish, dude. That's God. Is that one worth more or less than the Charizard Shadowless, you think?
The last time I saw, I think it was like a BGS 9.5 Black Lotus. I think it's pre-alpha. That's the. Or is it alpha? Which one came first, pre-alpha or it'd be pre-alpha?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I think it was on eBay for buy it now for like $500,000 USD.
Oh, man.
But it was getting like 200 views per hour on eBay, which is just insane. Like, that's like the holy grail of Magic. Right. I mean, I kind of try to familiarize myself with these things because I am so much into collecting. It's like if I ever went to like a boot sale, garage sale, or like a charity shop, and I saw a bunch of Magic cards and I didn't know what they were, it would haunt me for the rest of my life to know that I couldn't have picked up like a Black Lotus for like $1. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that was the thing when I was a kid. The Black Lotus was like, it was $100 at the card shop. And I was like, I'll never be able to afford this. And now I'm growing up and I'm like, I still will never be able to afford this. It's only gone up. It's an investment. It's like a stock investment, but they're cardboard.
Definitely. I mean, it definitely comes down to what you said, though. It's like there's the sentimental value, and then there's the financial incentive. And it's like I have both. So I have recently, in the last few years, started collecting like modern products, and a pretty safe. Or I'm not giving financial advice, by the way. I'm not professional at this at all. But a lot of the sealed product from Pokemon over the last 20 years has more or less gone up over the last 20 years. It's only ever risen because it goes out of print and so forth. So it's like I appreciate and love the old stuff, and that's very sentimental to me, and a lot of it I would never part ways with. But then I do have a lot of modern stuff. Like, I mean, I probably have about 20 booster boxes, which is rookie numbers for most collectors.
For Pokemon or different stuff.
For Pokemon, like modern Pokemon sealed, half of it's in Japanese, half of it's in English. And it's like just over the last 5 years, like, I mean, some of the packets that I have, like I bought these booster packs for about £2.50, so like $3 a pack. And now they're selling for anywhere from like $40 to $50 a pack. And that's just in 5 years. And I've got like a ton of them. Do you know what I mean? So I collect both, but the modern stuff for me now is more of a long-term investment with the mindset of, do you know what? If these actually are worthless one day, I can just open them up and enjoy them.
Yeah,
so it's kind of like
it's win-win for you. Yeah.
And also if I say one more thing, like when you buy them from the ground floor, so when they first come out, it's like you just pay the retail price. So it's like it's you're not paying like $1,000 for a box or 10 grand or 100 grand. Like you're paying maybe $100, and it's like it either is gonna go up or you get to enjoy opening it at some point with your kids or on your own or your friends. Like that's kind of how I see it. But when I move into my house, it's like I have some big plans to buy a lot of Pokemon.
Oh man,
and, hell yeah!
You have your own room just for the Pokemon. It's like the Pokemon room.
Hell yeah, dude, the whole attic is just going to be converted into like a Pokemon
shrine. The shrine.
I can't wait for your fiance to hear that.
Oh, by the way, just so you know, the attic is off limits.
Yeah.
No, she keeps forgetting about it. Actually, it's funny because the house that we're getting has one room that's quite small, and she keeps saying like that's where your Pokemon can go. And I'm like, babe, we got a whole extra floor upstairs.
Don't tell her.
It's going up there. I'm feeling that.
Just make a secret entrance that's like a Pokeball. You have to press it properly or something, and then it opens up, and then there's your secret room. She has no idea that you even have it, and you just disappear for hours of the day, and that's where you go.
Yep.
My fiance is actually quite supportive. Like, I'll say really supportive of this. Like, she's a saint, so she doesn't mind it as long as, you know, if I'm being dumb and I'm like, oh no, babe, I just spent all of my money on Pokemon, we can't afford the rent this month. I think she'd kill me, but I'm not like that. I'm very frugal, if that makes sense. Like, I don't really spend any money. I just buy Pokemon. Like, that's literally what I spend my money on.
It's an investment. It's an investment. Honestly, people put money in 401ks. You throw it into Pokemon. It makes sense.
I mean, it's. I haven't met anybody who's good at RuneScape and bad at finances. Let's just say that.
Well, it's worked out so far, so hopefully it keeps going.
Yeah. Y'all know how the GE works, and then that's all you need.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I need to wrap things up here because I've actually got to go. My daughter's doing a play today.
Yep. I got to bounce as well.
But it was great having you on, man. Thanks for coming on again. We should do something with the podcast exchange program. Maybe have Kyle on your show or something like that. We'll get Rice Cup or somebody in here. But we'll work that out.
I'm totally down. And thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And it was really nice to speak to you, by the way, boys. Oh. And Excl, I literally grew up watching your videos, man. It really has been a pleasure.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah, likewise. Seriously, thanks for coming on. I apologize for some of the chaos here. I really wish that I had the chance to kind of formally introduce you to the show and everything. We typically brief the guests before they come on, but this one was so hectic. I thought I was going to die in the first 15 minutes, but now
I kind of like the cold open. Maybe we should do this more often. Kyle, could you put your life at risk more often, like right at the beginning of the show? It seems like it goes off better when we do that.
I'll traumatize myself for a RuneScape
Take one for the team.
Absolutely.
That's what you need to do.
Yeah, of course. But no, seriously, it was so nice to talk to you. Seriously, go check out Raiksey on YouTube, on Twitch. Is there anything else that you want to plug? Anything that you're working on or share with people to go check out?
If people want to, they can come over to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Raiksey. And I don't want to plug the podcast because, you know, competition and all of that.
Plug it.
Yeah. all 10 of our guys are going to go over and watch that one now, and we're going to lose them.
Well, that's the thing. It's like we can build each other up, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll talk to Rice and the boys.
It's a rising tide. What's
the old School Runescape podcast? If you just type that in on YouTube, it'll come up. So yeah.
All right. Excellent. Go look it up, everybody. I want to thank Raiksey so much for joining us. We've got Nightmare RH in a couple of weeks, right, Jason?
Yep. 2 weeks. Nightmare RH. We got him.
2 weeks. And next week will hopefully be another Valheim stream. And until then, we'll see you guys later.